Going live. All right, take two. Hopefully everything is working this time. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Cody Miller Show, brought to you right here on my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for joining me today as we talk about all things in the world of swimming. That's training, that's racing, that's current world ranking times, that's the ISL, that's any FINA meet, that's whatever it is you guys want to talk about. That's what we're here for. And this show is primarily me answering viewers' questions. So for those of you who watch my vlog on a regular basis, to get your question or topic on the show, it's really quite easy. Send me an email to thecodymillershow@gmail.com. That's thecodymillershow@gmail.com. And I'm doing this show once a week. I'm trying to do it every Thursday. I'm going to plant my flag on Thursday because today's the day where I have about a 90-minute window right now from when I go from morning weights to my PT to afternoon training and then the other two jobs that I'm working. So Thursday's the day, and maybe, just maybe, you guys will get your question answered by me on the live show. And with that out of the way, let's get started with our first question. And our first question of the day comes to us from Gyurbi Ruska. I'm sure I butchered that name. The topic is double taper. Good evening, Cody. Hello. I was just wondering how the Olympic team handles that second taper before the Olympics, especially with so many different athletes that taper completely differently. What are your thoughts? Okay, thank you so much for the question. And yeah, the way United States swimming currently works is we have Olympic trials 30 days before the Olympic Games themselves. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking. You don't know as an Olympic swimmer or as a potential Olympic swimmer whether or not you're actually going to go to the games until a month before the actual ceremony. And swimmers taper for Olympic trials, and then those swimmers who qualify for the games have 30 days to basically prepare for the actual games. So it's what we call in the sport of swimming a double taper. And I think the United States has a little bit of an advantage going into double tapers because our system, our collegiate system that 95, probably 99% of the swimmers on the U.S. Olympic team, people who make the team, swim in the NCAAs here in the United States. So they go to college and they swim. And in the NCAA system, you're taught and you're kind of forced into a double taper system, where you have a season of dual meets, you compete, you fine-tune your races, you prepare for the end of the season. And then at the end of the season, you have whatever your conference championship meet is. So for me, I swam at Indiana, which is in the Big Ten Conference. So I would swim at the Big Ten Conference Championships, and then about a month later, swim at the NCAA Championships. If you're from California, if you're at Stanford or Cal, you're in the Pac-12. So you have the Pac-12 Conference Championships in February, and then in March you would go to the NCAA Championships. So with that being said, most U.S. national team swimmers have that experience and have years and years of going into on the other hand, I think the sport of swimming is growing and transforming into we're moving into a new era where athletes taper more regularly. They swim closer to their lifetime best times more regularly. They swim faster throughout the season with different training methods. And it's really an exciting time because that's better for the sport. That's better from a spectator standpoint. You go to a track meet and track athletes who run the 100-meter are really close to their best times fairly regularly. There's not a big drop. But then in the sport of swimming, people who aren't fully integrated and invested in our sport don't understand why you might be a second or 2 seconds off your lifetime best time when you swim a race and why that might be okay. And that curve is slowly diminishing, right? So how do we prepare for the double taper? Well, as I said, we've kind of been preparing. U.S. national team swimmers have kind of been preparing for that their whole life, doing the double taper. So it's not something new. And basically, in a nutshell, what a lot of teams do, from my experience being on multiple world championship teams, being on multiple Team USA teams, being on an Olympic team, what would happen is you would taper into a meet down to whatever you do during taper. And then coming off of the meet, if you've got about a month, we would go back up to the following week, about 75% volume, 75% intensity, 75% of pretty much everything when you were in the middle of your training phase leading up to your taper. and then you go down from there. So you start back up at about 75%, and then you would slowly go down there. That's actually an exact number that Bob Bowman told me once, that he said that he would bring his swimmers back to 75% volume, 75% intensity, and then go down from there. And there's some tinkering. Some people go up less, some people go up 100%. So everyone's a little bit different, but generally speaking, that's kind of the rule of thumb, I think. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I hope that some of you find that interesting. Oh, I have a missed call from, oh no, just a text from Blake. Oh no, I do have a missed call from my club coach, Ron Aiken. Ron, I will call you back after this. Okay, thank you so much for the question. And our next question, the main topic of today's show, comes to us from Aiden. And Aiden says, Dear Cody, with the 2020 Olympics now 13 months away, or 393 days away, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? That's 393 days away. Who will be the new dominance in the sport now that Phelps is out of the pool? Do you think Chad Leclos or Laszlo Czech will finally get a chance to shine with multiple golds? Or will younger swimmers like Caleb Dressel or Chase Kalish take over the sport? Love your vlogs and have watched them all. Have watched them twice. Thanks. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you, Aiden, so much for the question. And yes, we're moving into a new era of our sport, a post-Michael Phelps era, which is something that is kind of crazy. And we kind of thought that was going to happen after 2012, and then Michael came back. And we know that a big driving force, definitively the biggest driving force for why swimming has been the most watched sport in the Olympics, for why swimming has been so popular at big championship meets, is because of the drive and the draw, and people want to watch Michael Phelps. You know, when you look at golf wants Tiger Woods to keep golfing and be good, because when Tiger plays, I saw a statistic online that said when Tiger plays, golf's viewership goes up 50%. And I think in our sport, in the sport of swimming, the same could probably be true for when you're watching meets. If you've got a Michael Phelps or if you've got a Katie Ledecky, your viewership is automatically going to go up because they're the greatest of all time. People want to watch greatness, those sorts of things. But to answer your question, now that we're in and moving towards the more post-Michael Phelps era, who are the next up-and-coming swimmers? And well, I certainly think it's going to be an amalgamation of, you're still going to have your Katie Ledecky. You're still going to have your Sarah Sjöström, who, by the way, is amazing. I met her. Well, I've met her before, but I spent a lot of time with her in India a couple of weeks ago at the FINA Championship meet. She's a sweetheart. Such a nice person. Such a nice person. And so fast. Like, scary fast. So you're still going to have your superstars. You're still going to have your all-stars like that. But I think that it's going to be primarily dominated by up-and-coming swimmers. And it's funny to call Caleb Dressel an up-and-comer because he's already an Olympic gold medalist. You know, he won a gold medal on the 4x100 freestyle relay at the Rio Olympics. He went, for those of you who understand yards times, he broke 18 in a 50-yard freestyle. He went 17 in a 50. Like, that is like, you know, so it's kind of crazy. But yeah, he's never won an individual Olympic medal. And after the 2017 World Championships, when we saw Caleb win, I think 7 golds at that meet, I think everyone was looking at him as being the next Michael Phelps. And I don't want to label anybody that. Like, I don't think it's fair to put that expectation on Caleb. I would never do that. I don't think people should do that. I think Caleb is going to be his own swimmer in his own ways because he's very, very different from Michael. Very, very different. Extremely fast and incredibly talented like Michael, but a very different swimmer. And so I think that the next Olympic cycle, this upcoming games, and the next generation is going to be dominated by up-and-coming swimmers, some people we've never even heard of. And there's quite a few of them. You know, like Reagan Smith, for example. I think, I don't want to put expectation or pressure on people, but a lot of people think she's probably going to break the world record in the 100-meter backstroke. I mean, I was at a small Indiana meet just a week ago. If you guys watched my vlog, it was just the Councilman Classic Indiana meet, and she went at 58.4 in the 100-meter backstroke. And she is a young teenage girl. You know what I mean? So, like, it's an exciting time because there are a lot of up-and-coming young swimmers that are coming around. I think they're certainly going to be people that you've never heard of. But the interesting thing is, I think that there are going to be a lot of second-time Olympians who really come out of their shell and surprise people. So I think Caleb is an example of that. Caleb is someone that everyone in the sport of swimming already knows. He's established, but I think he's going to really blow up on the Olympic stage. I think clearly I'm biased because Blake Peroni is one of my best friends, but I think Blake is another one of those guys who's been to the Olympics, was a part of a relay that won a medal, but who's about to really break out. I think I think a Ryan Held could certainly do that. I think a Zach Abel could certainly do that. I think a guy like a Jack Conger could do that. I think a guy like a Townley Haas could do that. I think that there's going to be a lot of in U.S. swimming, specifically speaking for United States swimming, there's a lot of well-known national team swimmers who I think are really going to kind of pop off on the world stage. And that's exciting. It's an exciting time. So you're clearly still going to have your all-stars, like you're still going to have your Chads, who's going to do great. You still have your Katie, who's going to be Katie and smash records and be great. But overwhelmingly, I think the story is going to be look at the depth and look at the strength of, number one, United States swimming. And number two, look at how exciting swimming is in general. And a lot of that is because of what Michael did for us, because of what Phelps did for us. By setting all those records and accomplishing all those things, the sport has grown tremendously and inspired a whole new generation that is going to continue to break records and do things that we didn't think were possible, which is really, really exciting. So I don't want to go into too much. Like I don't know how I feel about, because I'm still currently swimming. Like I don't know how I feel about being a pundit who talks and kind of predicts outcomes or my thoughts and feelings about people who I may potentially be on teams with. It's kind of a weird thing, for me to talk about what I think certain swimmers who I'm still swimming with are going to do. It's very strange. Like I'm not like an analyst. Like I'm not like a Rowdy Gaines. I'm still in it, so it's strange. But anyway, that's all I'll say for that on that note. Thank you so much for the question. The post Michael Phelps era, I think, is going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. So I just got a text from Jack Franzman. Jack, I'll text you back. All right. And our third topic of the day comes to us from Aiden, who says, "Hi, Cody. I'm a huge fan, and I'm going into my junior year and my sophomore year. I fought through illnesses after illness. I couldn't seem to be healthy the entire year of high school. Any tips on how to fight them and keep improving so that I don't feel like crap? Thank you so much. I love the vlogs." All right. Thank you so much for the question, Aiden. Yeah. As far as illnesses goes, quite honestly, I've actually been a little bit sick the past couple of days. I was in Las Vegas just a few days ago, and I had the time change, and then I was up late because I was seeing a lot of friends that I hadn't seen. I got to spend time with some of my friends that I hadn't seen in years. So I was up late, and then I was still getting up early to go train with the Sandpipers in the mornings. So I was missing sleep, and then I was eating out. I was eating at a lot of restaurants, and my diet was off. So my diet was off. My sleep was diminished. I wasn't taking my normal vitamins because I didn't prepare well enough for this trip. So I kind of got sick, and it's been in my throat. And I'm feeling much better now. But the way that I've combated that and tried to get healthy is it's very, very, very simple, right? I believe number one, sleep. You can't replace a good night's sleep. You cannot sleep too much. There's nothing that will help you recover better than getting enough sleep. So number one, I would say, look at how much sleep you're getting. Number two, look at your diet. I look at food as a source of fuel as an athlete. And an athlete's body is as a high-end sports performance car, right? Like a Ferrari. And you wouldn't want to put cheap gasoline in a Ferrari, right? You want to put high quality fuel in a Ferrari. So are you eating lots of fruits and vegetables, right? Are you eating junk food? Are you drinking lots of sodas? Like, how much sugar are you consuming? Are you drinking 2 sodas? I don't know anything about your diet, but I would say monitor those things. So diet and sleep are the 2 key things. And for me, I've been pounding things like vitamin C and things like B12 to help kind of bump up my immune system again. And I'm starting to feel better. So as far as recovering throughout the year from illness, sleep. That is the biggest thing that I could say is sleep and diet. I know it's simple. I say that all the time, but that's how it is. Thank you so much for the question. And our next question of the day comes to us from Emily, who says, "Hi, Cody. The final few teams of the ISL were just released. How were those teams chosen? So one team isn't super dominant. Was there some sort of draft that happened, or how did the process of creating the teams happen? Thanks, Emily. P.S. Please bring back the podcast. Love hearing you and your friends chat about swimming and other subjects." Well, thank you so much for the question, Emily. And to answer your question, the podcast is coming back. I literally just got a text from my friend Jack about we're going to do a podcast tomorrow. We're doing it tomorrow. And my plan is to do one a week for the next 5 or 6 weeks until I leave for Pan Am's, which I'll get into in a little bit. So I'm going to have one podcast a week. Those podcasts will go up on Fridays. Right now, the Cody Miller Show I have slated I'm going to be doing Thursdays. So I'm going to be doing this show live in the morning, my time, between 10 and 11 when I have time on Thursdays, and then my vlogs every Wednesday. So to answer your question about the creation of the ISL teams, it was very much a draft, and it's not quite over yet. Some teams their rosters are not full. Like even my team, I believe we still have a couple of roster spots open. But essentially, there was a date that was established a few months back, and upon that date, the GMs from all the different ISL teams, there's 8 ISL teams, 4 in Europe, 4 in the United States. Each team has the same budget of money. So each team has a budget that is coming from the donor, the source who's funding the entire International Swim League. And then that budget can be allocated in any way that a GM chooses, just like in the NBA, just like in the NFL, those kinds of things. And so there was basically negotiations between teams and athletes about, hey, do you want to join our team? And so when it comes to joining a team, there are certain factors that me and all the other athletes looked at. And those are, okay, who's already on this team, right? Who are the coaches on this team? And number 3, what are they offering? What team, some teams would offer certain athletes more money because some teams need a specific swimmer, right? There might be a team that already has 2 backstrokers, who already has 2 really good backstrokers. And so they might offer another, you're looking to assemble a well-rounded roster. And each team has split and separated and divided up their money the way that they want. And basically it was like a draft, and it's still going on. And we've signed contracts with the ISL and with the team. And now we're kind of hitting the ground running. And my first ISL meet, I signed with the DC Tridents. My first ISL meet is in the Indianapolis Natatorium, October 4th and 5th. Then 2 weeks after that, I have a meet in Italy, in Naples, Italy. And then 2 weeks after that, I have a meet in DC, or like right outside Washington, DC. And I think I'll do a full video breaking down how the ISL operates in terms of how the bracket is assembled, what teams swim against who, how a team makes it to the championships, what money is won where, all those sorts of things. But basically, if my team beats one of the United States teams, one of the other teams, we will advance. And then I believe we would then make the final, because 4 teams make it to the Las Vegas championship final, which is cool. Like, we're living in an era. I was literally in the press conference for the ISL, and it was a web conference with like 50 people. I was on a web conference with Sarah Soystrom and all these and Flora Manadou and all these amazing swimmers from all over the world. And I was literally sitting there talking to these people, and I was like, we are making history right now. Like, this is amazing. This is an amazing time for our sport. The fact that we are assembling the very first ever international swim league. It was really, really quite exciting. So, that's basically how it works. And I know that I'll talk more about that in the future. Thank you very much for the question. And our next topic of the day comes to us from Ethan. And Ethan says, do you get paid to be part of an ISL team or for competing in the ISL? Love your vlogs. Thank you so much. So yeah, as I just described, the teams pay the athlete to be a part of the team, like in all professional sports. Now, the difference between, there are several differences, but one of the main differences between the ISL and, say, what happens with FINA, to distinguish them, is FINA has not always, despite what they may say, put the interests of athletes first. And what I mean by that is they make a lot of money as an organization, as a governing body of our sport, and athletes who compete for them do not. Now, there are certain athletes who have made lots of money, like a Katinka Hozu, like a Chad Leclos, from competing in FINA's World Cup Series, doing this and that. But overall, if you look at the depth, if you take away the top 2-3 stars in world swimming who compete in all the FINA meets, the rest of the athletes don't make much. And FINA makes, we don't know exactly how much, because I believe most of this information is private, but they make millions. And they have contract deals with over 100 countries, broadcasting rights all over the world. And one thing that the ISL has said is that there is a 50% revenue sharing for all athletes. So, me being a part of the DC Trident ISL team, the sponsors that are brought in by the DC Tridents for that team, 50% of that money is kicked back to the athletes, which is then distributed to all of the athletes on that team. And in addition to that, if I'm understanding this correctly, sponsors that are brought in for the ISL as a whole, 50% of that money will go to all of the athletes. So right now, we're living in a world where with FINA, although I think they're taking steps in the right direction and they are starting to show that they care about their athletes and show that they want to help their athletes live a more respectable lifestyle and they want to promote professional swimming. It's about time. The ISL is putting their foot down and saying, we're going to give the athletes 50%, which is fair, which is what we need to legitimize our sport, which is what we need to move forward, and which is honestly, like I've said on the show before, what we need to make the sport more engaging. There has to be stakes. There has to be money in order for people to care. And so that's kind of how it works. I know I will talk more about that in the future. Thank you so much for the question. And our final main topic of the day comes to us from Moose Goose. What a great name. Moose Goose says, how are you? I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I live in California and I would like to see you swim. Will you be going to the U.S. Nationals in Stanford, at Stanford? If so, what events do you plan on swimming? Thanks, Athena. Oh, looks like your name is Athena. Well, hello. So yes, this summer in USA Swimming, the big meet this summer is U.S. Nationals. And that is, as you said in your email, taking place at Stanford, which, by the way, is an amazing pool. They've got, I believe Nationals was there in 2011, my sophomore year of college. 2 outdoor 50-meter pools, beautiful facility. I love it. However, I will not be competing at Nationals this summer because it just so happens that it is roughly the exact same time as when I will be competing for Team USA at the Pan American Games in Lima, Peru. So I will be leaving, I believe I leave August 1st to fly down to Lima, Peru for Pan Ams. And I compete, day one is August 6th, and then it runs through August 10th. And then following the games, I'm going to be spending a week in South America with my wife, Allie, and we've got a bunch of fun stuff planned. I'm very excited about that. So a little vacation after the championship. But Nationals is right around that time, so I can't do both. I wish I could. I know that there are people who are competing at World Championships and then coming back to do Nationals, which I think is super cool, and I would do if I can. But yeah, so that's my plan. Right now, I'm like, what are we? 5-6-ish weeks out from Pan Ams. So I'm currently in week 1 of a 3-week training block in the pool and in the weight room, and I'm super excited about it. So that's it for the main email questions of the day. Once again, how do you get your question answered by me? It's easy. Send me an email to thecodymillershow@gmail.com. And maybe one day, just maybe, you'll get your question answered by me. And now I'm going to take the remaining 7 minutes, because I'm trying to shoot for about a 30-minute show. I'm going to take the remaining 7 minutes to take Instagram questions. So how do you get an Instagram question on my show? Easy. Make sure you guys are following me on Instagram at Cody Miller. And when I put up asking, fire them off in there. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to stop, and pick a question. So here we go. Sip. Okay, the first question of the day is coming, first Instagram question of the day is coming to us from SwimPatrick06, who says, what is your favorite pair of goggles? Right now, I train in the Tier Tracers, and I like the nano size, the Tracer X Nano. However, when I was at the Tier photo shoot, and some of you guys may have seen this in my video, the Joy of Swimming video, it's the photo shoot video. It was a lot of fun. I was wearing, I believe they're called the Tracer Edge, which is a slightly different pair. And I might actually like that more. However, I haven't worn them enough to know, but that's like another new pair that Tier's making. Love those goggles. Those are super, super cool. So yeah. Okay. And our next question comes from Maria, who says, what do you think about Michael Andrews' ketogenic diet? So yeah, there's a growing number of athletes out there, professional athletes, who are transitioning into the keto diet. It's very interesting. Basically, it's a low carb diet. So it's supposedly it's a cleaner source of fuel, getting your fuel sources from proteins and fats, and training your body to break those things down and access that as a fuel reserve source quicker and more efficiently. I think listen, I think there's a lot of diets out there. I think a lot of diets work for certain people. I think that there are certain diets that work for certain people. There are certain diets that won't work for certain people. And clearly the keto diet works really well for Michael Andrew, which is great. Like, that's awesome. I myself have gone through phases where I've gone high protein, low carb, and I was doing okay. Quite frankly, right now I'm in a phase where I am eating not keto. I would not consider it keto, but I am much higher protein, low carb right now in the training form that I'm at right now. So like I said, there's a lot of diets. It's just about finding what's right for you. Okay, and our next question comes from us from Giannis Dango, who says, how many world records do you think will be broke at this year's World Championships? Well, I would take it one step further and say, how many world records do I think are going to be broken this summer? Because there's actually 3 major championships. I mean, you've got World Championships, obviously, but then you've also got the Pan American Games, which I'm going to, and then you've also got WUGS. And although WUGS is more of a collegiate meet, that is a meet very well that world records could be broken. I mean, I remember in 2013, I was at World University Games in Kazan, Russia, and Russia nearly broke 3 world records. I don't think any official world records were broken, but there were 3 records that were close. I remember Russia's 4x100 freestyle relay was super fast. So you never know. Which records do I think will be broken? That would take too much time and analysis. I would have to really sit down and break that down. I mean, it's easy to point to records that you don't think will be broken, but yeah, I'm sure that there will be some. I'm certain that there will be some. Exciting, very exciting. Okay, and our next question comes to us from the Zangster, who says, "What do you feel like after a rough race or any race in general?" I mean, after a race goes bad, I feel like crap. But I've just kind of trained myself to, you got to move forward, right? You break it down, think about it, learn from it, move forward, and you do that as quickly as possible, because the quicker you come back from that, the better. Okay, next question. Matthew asks, do you think tech suits and meat goggles help? 100% they do. Yeah, tech suits make you faster, clearly, and wearing goggles. I don't think what goggles you wear affects how fast you are. I don't think that really makes much of a difference at all. It's just a matter of what works for you. Thank you for the question. Let's see. Emily asks, advice for moms of young swimmers. Ooh, well, general advice, I would say, and this is obviously going to be very vague, but be as involved and invested as you feel is right. That's like not even advice. So I'll tell you what my mom did. My mom forced me to do things that I didn't necessarily want to do, especially when I was really little. There were times when I didn't want to swim, when I got cold and I didn't want to be there, and my mom forced me to go. There were times when my mom yelled at me for not going to practice when I didn't want to go to practice. And I'm very grateful that she did that. However, to this day, my mom doesn't know a whole lot about swimming. So she kind of knew her boundaries, or she put up boundaries that just so happened to work out for us. So I think you have to understand boundaries. But I will say, it is discouraging to me, and I dislike it when there are, and we've all heard this term before, helicopter parents. Right? Parents who are like on top of their kids, who are watching every single thing that they're doing, who are constantly talking to them about it. I think that there's a difference between having a relationship and understanding what your kids are going through. Once again, I'm not a parent. Okay. I'm an idiot. I'm just a dude with a YouTube channel who swims in a pool pretty well. I don't have kids, but I think that there is a difference between having a close relationship and understanding what your kids are going through and being very overbearing. Right. And I think that you have to navigate those waters. Yeah, that's my vague, probably useless piece of advice. Thank you for the question. Ev asks, how do you peel a banana? Well, I peel it from the bottom, right? Not from the little part that you break off, which I think is the proper way. I'm pretty sure that's how monkeys do it. And if that's how monkeys do it, then that's probably how you're supposed to do it. So that's how I peel bananas. Legend_mindset asks, what drone do you use and price? I have the Mavic Pro that came out about 2 years ago, and I think it's around $800. I don't use it much. I need to use it more. I feel like I could do some cool stuff with drones. I just haven't been. So maybe I'll get on that. Next question. Ryan_Marcus asks, what is the dip in your chest? It's called pectus excavatum. It's a birth effect. As I grew up, it just became more protrudent. It does put some stress on my respiratory system, so it is difficult to breathe in long duration type stuff. More difficult. I say that. Doctors say I have anywhere from 12 to 20% diminished lung capacity. I don't really know. It doesn't affect the pulmonary function of my heart, so it's not dangerous, but it can be. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Let's see, just a few more here. Sift. Mesa Moa asks, is drinking energy supplements good before or me? I don't know what's good or bad. I mean, I know athletes who take pre-workout supplements, who drink Red Bulls and do great with it. I personally don't. I really think it depends on how susceptible you are to stimulants like caffeine, like beta, like NO2, which basically dilates your blood vessels, which is in a lot of pre-workout supplements. Like how much do things affect you? I think trying things in smaller doses is a safer bet, and then learning where to back off. You have to kind of test your boundaries. But I mean, I know a lot of people that use them. I don't use them. Okay, thank you for the question. This will be my last question. I like this. This comes from Brennan, who asks, "What is the best drill to improve breaststroke kick?" Okay, so the Ray's favorite breaststroke drill right now is 25's underwater breaststroke kick on your side. So like completely on your side. And what that kind of forces you to do is when you're on your side, your equilibrium's all off, and it forces you to make sure that your knees stay close together. And it's difficult for me to explain, but I think it's just the way that it throws you off and out of whack. It forces it's weird. Try it. Do 25's underwater kick on your stomach and back, and then do it on your side and see how much harder it is. I think it just forces you to be more efficient. So kicks like that, maybe if you're working on your technique, that's the one piece of advice I would give. All right, I'll take one more question. Okay, last question. Take a guess 18 asks, any stupid or very memorial cringy childhood memories? Keep up the good work. 100K, here we come. Oh yeah, so thank you very much. I am close to 100K. I think I'm gonna do something cool for when my channel hits 100,000 subscribers. I think that'll be really cool. Childhood memories, any cringy childhood memories? I tell this really gnarly story pretty much every year at swim camp, where I ripped my suit at US Olympic trials behind the blocks in front of thousands of people. So my butt was displayed in front of thousands of people. And I'm not gonna go into detail or share that. I'm gonna keep that for a story that I share in person, because I share that story a lot. People, I like swim camp, Indiana swim camp's going on right now, and every single year people request that I tell that story. And it's a fun story for me to tell, but I'm gonna keep that to when people see me in person. So that's a cringy one. Another story is the time I threw up Skittles. I'll tell you what, I did autographs for the Indiana swim camp 3 days ago. And of all the things I signed probably 20 bags of Skittles. I swear, Skittles should like sponsor me and start paying me, because when I do speaking events, I oftentimes tell that story. And and yeah, and people always ask me to tell it. So long story short, I threw up Skittles. It was nasty, but I'm not going to tell a story. That's another one that I kind of want to keep to when I'm doing actual in-person events. So thank you guys so much for the questions. I didn't get through very many of these, so I'll do another live show and get through more of these Instagram questions. As always, make sure you guys are following me on social media at SwimMiller on Twitter and at on Instagram. Vlogs every ways. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've already subscribed, but please subscribe to my YouTube channel and share my videos. That really helps me. What else have we got going on? I had a new video up yesterday. I've got a cool vlog coming next Wednesday. The podcasts are coming back regularly, I promise. Leading into Pan Ams, I'm going to do, the next couple weeks, the next few weeks, I'll do a podcast each week. And my dogs are barking, so Allie's home. So the perfect timing, Allie's coming home. And until my next video, I will see you guys later. Is it over? And